shareholder value.
Company is there to maximize shareholder wealth makes a lot of sense.
Quote, maximize shareholder value, close quote.
Maximizing shareholder returns.
Maximizing shareholder value has been the bane of the American economy for a number of decades.
Wall Street is bracing for an IPO tidal wave.
A literal destroyer of economies.
Big institutions are going to control the ownership early on of these companies. So individual investors or smaller institutional investors will have to find sort of other ways.
Not because the concept is a bad one, but if taken and used by the wrong individuals, it could cause overwhelming damage to an economy. If you talk to just about anyone in America, especially the middle and lower class, you'll find that the growing sentiment is that American corporations are too fat, too rich, too greedy, and the cause of all income inequality and wealth despair. But maximizing shareholder value hasn't always meant ruthlessly cutting everything that doesn't immediately add to the bottom line. Making sure that those at the top reap the biggest rewards while everyone else get the least, and virtually stifling innovation. Modern maximizing shareholder value means maximizing short-term profits to boost stock prices. Initially, maximizing shareholder value meant understanding that true success depended on long-term investment time horizons that benefited not only shareholders, but customers, employees, suppliers, creditors, and communities as well. But when you have companies that use non-financial metrics that are commonly untied to long-term value creation or the company's goals, you'll have companies that cheat the system and reward managers how they wish, even if they fail to create value. The concepts of maximizing shareholder value date back to the 1970s, with Milton Friedman being one of the most notable voices in this movement. His philosophy stated that the primary purpose of a business was to make money for its shareholders. But it was truly cemented and took the form of what we see today by this man, Jack Welch.
As perhaps the most influential and imitated, not to mention controversial corporate CEO of the last half-century, his thoughts on business are so coveted that he's being paid nearly $10 million to put them in a book.
In 1981, Jack Welch took over GE, a century-old industrial giant that sold everything from light bulbs to jet engines. But Welch didn't see GE as an industrial company. He saw it as a vehicle to deliver one thing: shareholder value. He slashed over 100,000 jobs, shut down factories, sold off entire divisions. If a business unit wasn't ranked number 1 or number 2 in its market, he killed it. He didn't care about workers or legacy or even long-term innovation. This is literally how private equity works now, and why it has destroyed so many companies. They take companies, slash them up, sell off the remains, and try to salvage what's left, all without creating any real value. Welch created a culture of brutal efficiency. Every year, managers had to fire the bottom 10% of performers. It was called ranking yank. This type of thinking keeps everyone scared, makes you feel disposable and replaceable. I'm sure most of you watching this video have felt this way in your place of work. Welch also expanded GE Capital, turning GE into a pseudo-bank. This financial arm generated quick profits, propped up earnings, and made it easier to hit Wall Street's targets. GE stopped making things and started playing the numbers. But why would you, when you could just keep doing what you're doing and collect rent? Welch became a Wall Street hero. GE stock rose over 4,000%. He was named CEO of the century. And see, this is where the trouble came in, because companies and CEOs see something like this and say, oh, this is the new way. This is the way. And for most companies, it's not the way, but they followed the template. Fire the workers, offshore the jobs, hit your quarterly numbers, and in return, massive stock options and bonuses. But as with anything, this playbook came with a price. It taught corporations that loyalty doesn't matter, that employees are a cost to be cut, that R&D can wait as long as the stock price goes up. It spread like a virus, fueling wage stagnation, job insecurity, and a hollowed out middle class. This is a quote from the man himself. Now, this isn't a video to villainize Jack Welch the man, because he was just acting on a process and was smart at implementing a strategy to pull companies out of a rut. And this is also not an attack on companies as a whole. Capitalism isn't wrong. Crony capitalism is wrong. Welch didn't destroy the economy, but he taught generations of CEOs how to bleed it dry. Because when you follow something without knowing why you're doing it, you just become a shell of what you're intending to be. It reminds me of a quote from Peter Thiel's book 0 to 1 that says, The next Bill Gates will not build an operating system. The next Larry Page or Sergey Brin won't make a search engine. And the next Mark Zuckerberg won't create a social network. If you're copying these guys, you aren't learning from them. The next Jack Welch won't focus on maximizing shareholder value. And the companies and CEOs that copy him aren't learning from him. So where do we go from here? How do we get back to a more stable model? Well, I came across this article from Harvard Business Review, and I really think it sums up a direction or path. And maybe I'm just an armchair idealist, but businesses should lead with having respect for all stakeholders. This includes employees. Stakeholders should not only represent board members and C-suite executives, because they're not the only ones that have a vested interest in the company doing well. If employees are performing well, it boosts the overall performance of the company. And employees perform better when they're not in fear of their jobs. This falls closely in line with having a duty to support the community. But making the effort to be involved in the community is not only good for optics, but being a responsible business and brand. But none of this really matters if these businesses don't commit to making useful products. Consumers are fed up with taking less and paying more. So many companies fall prey to maximizing shareholder value because they take money from investors to fund their horrible, useless products. And so they blow through cash, cut employees, and fake results to convince their shareholders that this utopian product that they promised is not worthless. I'll end with this. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn." The people mourning against corporations is just a direct response to how CEOs and executives are handling their companies in the name of maximizing shareholder value. The tide has to turn for the righteous to get back in authority. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe.